To make a comment or ask a question about what I've been speaking about. Yes.
Just the Tehillim that we usually daven with, the melody is very kind of the same melody all the time. You know, your melody, is it your own, or is it you daven with different melodies for different songs?
I do try to daven with different melodies, and I've been particularly influenced in my pathway by the late Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, Zecher Bracha, who is of course a master of music, and many of whose lyrics were the words of the Tehillim. And I think that although his music is not everybody's taste all the time, it's certainly been one of the major contributions to reinvigorating the synagogue services. I think if we are honest, we must admit that some of the song has gone out of our services that we know in the heart should be there, and sometimes it's because of tiredness, undoubtedly, of people that has been persecuted and running and migrating from place to place, find it very hard to maintain the fervor of their attachment. But we also know that at the Seder night and at weddings and at simchas, we do go back to our joy, and I believe that this is something we need to bring into the synagogue. So I think it's very important for people to have the courage to innovate melodies, because we actually no longer know exactly the Tamei Mikra of the Tehillim. We do know the cantillation of the Torah, the Trop, and we know the cantillation of the Nevi'im, but there are 3 books in the Bible, the Tanakh, that we don't know the notes of, and they are the 3 that have the initials Emet, Aleph, Mem, Taf. Aleph, Iyov, Mem, Mishle, and Taf, Tehillim. And the knowledge of how these books are to be chanted, particularly Tehillim, which has a musical structure, musical notes printed in the Tehillim text that are markedly different from the cantillation of the Torah, we just don't know this today. So I think that it's good for us to experiment, as long as it's done in the proper taste, with the proper reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There was one of the great tzaddikim in the time of Rabbi Nachman who as an old man drew close to Rabbi Nachman and actually outlived Rabbi Nachman, and went to Rabbi Nachman's grave to recite 10 psalms that Rabbi Nachman had recommended as the Tikkun Aklali, the general remedy, and it is said that he would sing each of these psalms according to a different melody of Rabbi Nachman. So here we have somebody who was not afraid to innovate, who found melodies of a true tzaddik and brought them into the recital of the prayer. So I think it's something that we can all try to do and liven up our prayers with real fervor, real meaning. Yes?
I do comprehend the connection of bad spirits and depression.
Well, really, in Hebrew, the concept of Ruach Ra'ah has a psychological as well as a demonic connotation. The Ruach Ra'ah will be used to refer to a bad spirit, a demon spirit. This is a dark force that can actually attach itself to a person, take over the person. That is really what the Torah is saying that depression at root is, that a person has a neshama, a nefesh, a soul, and a Holy Spirit that should be bubbling over with vitality and creation. Just like the body is constantly recreating and renewing itself, so the soul is constantly renewing itself and recreating itself. But it can come about that it seems like a ruach ra'ah, a blanket of darkness and fog and depression comes down upon a person. And so in terms of Hebrew, the concept of ruach ra'ah is a concept of depression. There are a number of different terms in the psychological language of Hebrew for this phenomenon, but at root it is a distorted, warped form of the soul that is manifesting. The soul is supposed to be in a state of ruach tov, that is the natural, the good state. And when this turns sour in some way, that is what the Torah would say is depression. I mean, just to define clinical depression is a very difficult thing. And there are many behaviors that could be actually seen as symptomatic of what is really a deep-rooted depression, even though the person may be laughing and having fun and doing all kinds of things. If these are not taking that person to their true destiny, these are just kind of sublimated depression, where the person is channeling negative energy into self-destructive behaviors. So it's a very lengthy subject you've raised, but the main point I think is that from the Torah point of view, the ruach ra'ah is a kind of manifestation of the sinister side of a person's existence, because something has gone out that has allowed this to rise up.
Not only just
What are your reflections about a person that tries hard to wean themselves to be the antidote of depression, but just can't do it? So turn to him as like another feeler in which he or she really can't respond to. Any recommendations for that kind of individual?
Well, the single most powerful thing is attachment between neshamot. The Torah was given at Sinai, and one of the names of Sinai is Horeh.